On this Tuesday night, tragedy strikes the hockey world.
This is just such another big blow to our community.
The tributes to 3 teenage hockey players killed in a crash. Police probe a powerful British politician now under investigation because of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The desperate search for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie.
Job number 1 is we got to find her.
Reports of ransom notes, what police are revealing, and the details they're now retracting.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with the outpouring of support and sympathy for the families of 3 young hockey players killed in a traffic accident in Alberta. They were on their way to practice south of Calgary on Monday when the vehicle they were in collided with a semi-truck hauling gravel. The team says they were kids chasing the game they loved. 2 of them, JJ Wright and Casorso, were both 18 years old from Kamloops, BC. And Caden Fine was just 17 from Birmingham, Alabama. The Southern Alberta Mustangs laid out their jerseys at the arena, the team saying it is in the earliest hours of an unimaginable loss. Heather Yourex-West is in Stavely, Alberta, and has our top story tonight. Heather.
Donna, this memorial outside the Stavely Hockey Arena is just one of a growing number of tributes popping up across the region as grieving families arrive and as tight-knit farming community tries to come to grips with such an unimaginable loss.
The years between birth and death seem too close to comprehend. 3 young lives cut impossibly short. Junior hockey players in the prime of their young lives.
Our communities are grieving the loss of 3 junior hockey players. Several families in our community, including my own, are billet families for this team. We don't just host these boys. They become a part of our homes.
The 3 players, 18-year-olds JJ Wright and Casorso from Kamloops, BC, and 17-year-old Caden Fine of Birmingham, Alabama, were on their way to practice Monday morning. RCMP say they crossed the main highway at an intersection north of town when they were hit by a gravel truck. The driver of the gravel truck received minor injuries. In a show of collective grief, hockey sticks are once again being left outside homes, along with the Southern Alberta Mustangs team colors, red and blue. It's the same show of support that followed a similar tragedy almost 8 years ago, when 16 people died in a crash involving the Humboldt Broncos hockey team.
To be helped.
Michelle Strasnitsky's son Ryan survived, but was left paralyzed.
I know the families are not. There's nothing that console them right now, and their friends and their billet families and the teams, and it's one of those things you have to work through.
This tragedy has hit the wider hockey community hard too, both players and fans alike.
Something that touches close to home. You know, three guys heading to practice. You know, obviously, just tragic. You know, you're thinking about their families for sure.
It's the nightmare of every parent, every teammate, family, friends, and my heart goes out to obviously to the families of the victims and the team.
RCMP are still investigating the cause of this crash. The locals tell us that this intersection is known for its danger, having been the setting of at least 2 other fatal crashes in the last 20 years. Donna?
All right, Heather Yourex-West in Stavely, Alberta. Thank you. In the UK, the fallout from the release of emails and photos in the Epstein files has now reached a prominent political figure. The police have launched a criminal investigation into Lord Peter Mandelson, a longtime former Labour MP and cabinet minister and former ambassador to the U.S. Based on emails he sent to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, it's alleged Mandelson passed on sensitive, confidential government information. And as Vincent McAviney reports, he could face serious criminal charges.
A man who was once at the heart of British government, a power broker whose nickname was the Prince of Darkness because of his influence as a spin doctor and political fixer, is now enmeshed in a scandal that could land him in jail. On Tuesday, Peter Mandelson quit the House of Lords, the upper chamber of Parliament, after emails revealed he had a close personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and shared confidential government and market-sensitive information during the height of the financial crisis. Opposition parties plan to use emergency powers on Wednesday to strip him of his Lord title. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer appointed Mandelson as ambassador to Washington in December 2024, despite some knowledge of his connections to Epstein. He was removed from the post less than a year later.
Yet again, an example of particularly those with money and wealth, often internationally, being able to get close access and privilege to those at the seat of power in British democracy. And that will only further cause that trust in our political system to erode.
In Washington, former President Bill Clinton and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had been adamant for months that they would not comply with subpoenas from the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Epstein. The couple had accused the Republican chair of using them to distract from US President Trump's own entanglement with the paedophile. The Clintons changed their mind on Monday after several Democrats on the committee signaled they would vote with Republican members to hold them in criminal contempt of Congress if they did not testify. Meanwhile, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has launched an investigation into Epstein's potential links with Russian intelligence. A growing number of commentators and experts assume that it is highly probable that this was a premeditated operation by the Russian KGB, this so-called honey trap set for the elites of the Western world. With public trust in politics already at historic lows across the West, information from the Epstein files has the potential to undermine confidence even further. Vincent McAviney, Global News, London.
The son of Norway's crown princess has pleaded not guilty to rape charges as his trial begins for multiple offenses. Marius Borg Høiby is the eldest son of Crown Princess Mette Marit, who emails reveal had extensive contact with Jeffrey Epstein. He faces 38 charges and today pleaded not guilty to the most serious allegations, including 4 counts of rape. He could face up to 10 years in prison if convicted. Police in Paris have raided the offices of social media company X. It's part of an investigation into the possession and distribution of child pornography and the generation of sexually explicit deepfakes. The billionaire owner of X, Elon Musk, has been called in for questioning, along with the company's former CEO. Other staff have been summoned as witnesses. French prosecutors say they widened their investigation into the platform after complaints about the AI chatbot Grok, which is also under investigation in the UK. Spain has become the latest country planning to ban social media for children under 16. A growing number of countries are attempting to prohibit or limit the predatory practices and algorithms of those platforms. There's pressure on Canada's government to take action too and bring in long-promised legislation on online safety. Taria Isri explains.
Spain will ban access to social media for minors under the age of 16.
Another country is trying to rein in big tech to shield kids online.
Today, our children are exposed to a space they were never meant to navigate alone.
Last month, Australia became the first nation in the world to ban social media for children under 16, setting off a domino effect. France, Denmark, Malaysia, and others are considering or planning similar measures. Canada has not publicly said whether it would follow suit.
I'm not going to speculate any further. We haven't landed on anything yet.
Thank you to all the witnesses that are here today.
MPs heard from some of the youngest Canadians about the need for safeguards.
Kids don't need more studies to explain what's bad online. We're living it.
My daughter Amanda was bright.
Frustrated parents also testified, like Carol Todd, who lost her daughter Amanda to suicide in 2012 after relentless cyberbullying.
We are in 2026 now, and those harms have escalated.
The federal government is planning to reintroduce the Online Harms Bill, which failed to pass before Parliament was dissolved last year. Child safety experts say a new bill is desperately needed, particularly with the rise of AI and sexualized deep fakes.
We need Canada to be a leader and not a laggard in this space.
But some of the witnesses doubt a ban would even work and say it would only let social media companies off the hook.
I don't think a ban would really work because kids can find workarounds. It's a tool at the end of the day, and tools are meant to be put down.
But how to safely put it down and pick it up remain open questions. Taria Isri, Global News, Montreal.
Nearly 6 years after a 16-year-old was shot and killed by police in Winnipeg, an inquiry into her death is now underway. Aisha Hudson died in April of 2020 after police responded to reports of a liquor store robbery and chased a stolen Jeep. Police have said the stolen vehicle rammed into a police vehicle and other cars during the pursuit before shots were fired. The inquest is looking into whether systemic racism played a role in Hudson's death and whether the use of force was appropriate.
Hopefully they will take action with the recommendations that come out of this inquest. We can't lose any more of our children.
The inquest will hear from family, police officers, witnesses, and use of force experts. A delegation of government, business, and environmental leaders went to Churchill, Manitoba today. They're meeting with locals to discuss the possibility of the community becoming a year-round gateway to the Arctic. Prime Minister Mark Carney says he sees the export potential of the Port of Churchill and also believes it can underpin Canada's northern sovereignty and security. Today, Manitoba's Premier Wab Kinew announced environmental protections must be established ahead of any port development.
We're pursuing a marine conservation area on Hudson Bay to protect the waters around Churchill as we grow the economy to make sure that the beluga and other wildlife and marine mammals have a safe and clean and healthy habitat.
The federal government has committed $175 million over 5 years to get the Hudson Bay Railway back on track and start the groundwork for port revitalization. The federal government has released a long-awaited strategy to protect endangered whales. The aim is to prevent entanglements by requiring some fisheries to use high-tech fishing gear. Heidi Petracek explains how the 5-year plan would work and how it could benefit both whales and the fishing industry.
As soon as it's released, it comes to the surface.
This on-demand fishing gear deploys buoys only when a harvester needs to collect the catch, eliminating the floating vertical ropes that can cause whale entanglement.
So what harvesters need is a tool that allows them to keep fishing without that persistent buoy line.
This Halifax facility loans whale-safe gear to Atlantic harvesters, an effort to prevent injuries and death among marine animals, including the critically endangered North Atlantic right whale. Now, for the first time, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans has set out its plan to implement the gear in certain fisheries by 2030, starting on the East Coast.
We'll work to implement on-demand gear in places where entanglement risk is highest, and the technology has been proven to work.
The DFO closes fishing zones if the whales are present, so the use of whale-safe gear would allow fisheries to stay open while keeping the animals safe.
The long-term solution is not more closures, it's working together to find ways for fish harvesters to operate sustainably and profitably in a manner that is safe for whales.
So far, Ottawa's strategy doesn't include new funding for fish harvesters or gear lending programs like this one.
This is, it's a long time coming.
As researchers mark the first North Atlantic right whale death detected since May of 2024. The remains of the whale, which was named Division, found last week floating off the coast of North Carolina with what looks like rope still trailing from the carcass.
And so at this point, anything that is helping us try to reduce those threats, even harm from those threats, but especially mortalities, is going to help.
We know there are areas where there is a dangerous overlap between whales, particularly critically endangered whales, and fishing gear. And this is an opportunity to solve that.
With only about 380 North Atlantic right whales left, they say every effort must be made. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
Arizona police backtracking. Coming up, the new details they're now clarifying about the disappearance of a high-profile journalist's mother. The mystery of what happened to the mother of American TV host Savannah Guthrie is deepening. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie went missing from her home in Arizona on the weekend. Police believe she was taken against her will. Today, tabloid news outlet TMZ reported it received a ransom note demanding millions in Bitcoin for her release. Jackson Proskow and what the police are saying about that and about the investigation.
Believing a crime has taken place, investigators have been poring over the home of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie in Tucson, Arizona, hoping for any sign of the missing mother of NBC host Savannah Guthrie.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at.
Late Tuesday, the sheriff's office confirmed they're investigating reports of possible ransom notes and are taking all tips seriously. Days after her disappearance, air and ground searches are slowing down as this turns into a deeper investigation.
It's very bizarre. This is a very safe neighborhood. The first thing that comes to my mind is that this probably is not it's going to be a good outcome.
Guthrie hasn't been seen since Saturday night when her family dropped her off at home. Sunday morning, a friend notified the family that she had not shown up for church, which triggered the search. Investigators are examining DNA evidence inside her home, but are walking back reports they found blood.
We've submitted all kinds of samples for DNA, and we've gotten some back, but nothing to indicate any suspects.
Guthrie relies on daily medication, described as life-sustaining. Her pacemaker reportedly stopped syncing with her Apple Watch around 2 a.m. Sunday, though police won't confirm that. On social media, Savannah Guthrie issued a plea for prayers, writing, "Bring her home." As for who may have taken her or why, police say they simply don't know, but they stress they're not giving up hope of finding her alive.
We have a job to do, and we have someone's life who is in jeopardy. And so job number one is we got to find her.
Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
The launch of NASA's Artemis II mission to circle the moon has been pushed back until March. It was postponed after a hydrogen fuel leak was detected during tests. The 4 astronauts, including Canadian Jeremy Hansen, have been moved out of quarantine and will have to restart that 2-week process ahead of the next possible launch date. The Artemis II mission is planned to last 10 days. It's intended to be a final test of all the systems ahead of a planned Artemis III mission, which would see astronauts set foot on the moon for the first time since 1972. Final journey home ahead, the repatriation ceremony for a Canadian soldier killed overseas. A Canadian soldier who died in Latvia last week was honored in a repatriation ceremony today in Trenton, Ontario. Gunner Sebastian Hamalgan died while deployed on Project Reassurance, a Canadian-led NATO operation aimed at defending the alliance's Eastern European flank. The 24-year-old from Hamilton, Ontario, was on his first overseas mission. The circumstances of his death are still being investigated by Canadian and Latvian authorities. Former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper was honored today at the unveiling of his official portrait in Ottawa. Ministers, premiers, and current and former MPs were there, along with current Prime Minister Mark Carney.
As those who have known him privately can attest, Stephen Harper has never been drawn to spectacle, but always to service.
The portrait was painted by Canadian artist Phil Richards. This week marks 20 years since Harper first became Prime Minister and led the federal Conservatives into power. Today he reflected on the need for all parties to be united against external threats.
I sincerely hope that mine is just one of many portraits of Prime Ministers from both parties that will continue to be hung here for decades and centuries to come. But that will require that in these perilous times, both parties, whatever their other differences, come together against external forces that threaten our independence and against domestic policies that threaten our unity. We must preserve Canada.
Russian forces launched a wide-ranging strike on Ukraine overnight, one day before a new round of U.S.-brokered peace talks are set to get underway. More than 450 long-range drones and 70 missiles hit buildings and infrastructure in at least 5 Ukrainian cities, including the capital, Kyiv. Multiple apartment buildings and at least 1 school were hit. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the attacks are a clear violation of the so-called energy ceasefire that was announced by the U.S. president last week. And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is a Scout Canada winter camping site in Manning Park, BC. We'd love to see Your Canada. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.